You've got fighters who can punch with serious power, guys who rack up a few rounds and make it look competitive, but rarely do they push through real adversity. That's the backdrop for the ongoing debate about Oleksandr Usyk's heavyweight run. People are starting to question the weight of his accomplishments. Yes, he's talented. Yes, he's unbeaten. But how deep is that resume at heavyweight? The truth is, Usyk's run in the heavyweight division includes only 5 names. That's right, just 5. While his skills are undeniable, there's a growing sentiment that the praise he's receiving might be a bit premature. Floyd Mayweather, for one, isn't buying into the hype. As far as he's concerned, fans are too quick to throw around titles like legend or all-time great without truly digging into the bigger picture. Mayweather, never one to shy away from self-praise, continues to assert that nobody before or after him, Usyk included, belongs in his league. He retired undefeated, captured world titles across multiple weight classes, and faced some of the most dangerous names in boxing history. Compared to the level of opposition Floyd dealt with, Usyk's resume, in his eyes, is nothing extraordinary. Usyk might be flashy, slick, even masterful, but for Floyd, that's not enough to crown him as one of the all-time greats. Critics like Showbiz the Adult echo this skepticism. While the media often labels Usyk as a modern-day icon, Showbiz questions whether the names on Usyk's record carry enough weight. Let's be honest, besides Tyson Fury and maybe Anthony Joshua, who among his opponents truly moves the needle in terms of legacy? People keep pointing to quality over quantity, but that argument falls apart quickly under scrutiny. Take Chaz Witherspoon. Sure, he's a professional, but nobody's calling him a heavyweight great. His brother, Tim Witherspoon, had a more notable career, but Chaz? Not so much. Derek Chisora. Tough as nails, sure. A warrior? Absolutely. But when you stack him up against elite heavyweights, his record shows more losses than legacy wins. And Daniel Dubois? Still young, still developing, but not exactly a top-tier name yet. So, what are we left with? Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. Now, there's an actual debate to be had about AJ. He's got an Olympic gold, multiple heavyweight belts, and big fights under his belt. But he's also been knocked out by Andy Ruiz, struggled against smaller guys, and hasn't always looked elite under pressure. Fury, on the other hand, is a legitimate great. If Usyk beats Fury twice, that's a real statement. But even then, does that alone vault him into the same tier as Ali or Holyfield? There's another way to look at Usyk's brilliance, and that's through the pound-for-pound lens. He's not necessarily the most dominant heavyweight in the sport's long history, but when it comes to skill, footwork, timing, and fight IQ, he's up there. Some believe his greatness lies in how he adapts, outthinks, and outpaces his opponents. Still, most analysts stop short of calling him a heavyweight legend. Many people throw around that top 10 heavyweight of all time label a little too casually. Let's take a step back. Usyk has fought less than 10 times at heavyweight. He's done well in those fights, sure. But can you really place him ahead of fighters who've built their careers over decades and 30-plus bouts against killers? That said, if we're talking pound for pound, now that's a different story. Usyk has carved out a unique space in modern boxing. He's on my Mount Rushmore of pound-for-pound fighters today. Maybe not top 3, but definitely up there. His style is elusive, slick, and sharp. His footwork confuses heavyweights used to slower tempos, and his cardio seems endless. One point that gets repeated by analysts is that Usyk's dominance may stem more from his opponent's lack of preparation than his own invincibility. Daniel Dubois, for instance, looked puzzled from the first bell. He had no real game plan, couldn't deal with Usyk's jab, and seemed to lose confidence round by round. That first jab from Usyk snapped his head back like a whip. It was crisp, clean, and heavy, almost like something you'd see from Artur Beterbiev. To Dubois's credit, he's got talent. But mentally, he didn't seem ready. And while Usyk deserves credit for his performance, it felt like he barely had to shift out of second gear. He didn't need to push himself because Dubois didn't force him to. The real question is, what happens when someone finally does? In my mind, the fight that makes the most sense for Usyk next is Ajit Kabale. He's got the stamina, the grit, and the discipline to keep up with Usyk. Most heavyweights just can't match the pace Usyk sets. They gas out by round 3. Kabale, though, He knows how to work the body, a potential weak spot for Usyk, and could force a different kind of fight. You need someone who's not just big and strong, but smart and stubborn in the ring. Usyk wins a lot of these fights because he's in better shape, mentally sharper, and constantly moving. Cabale could be the guy who disrupts that rhythm. That's what makes that matchup so intriguing. Showbiz brings up a strong point. Throwing Usyk into the same conversation as guys like Holyfield or Ali is jumping the gun. These legends weren't just skilled, they proved themselves against generational talent. Holyfield, for example, went toe-to-toe with Mike Tyson, Riddick Bowe, George Foreman, and Larry Holmes. That's a murderer's row of Hall of Famers. Can Usyk's 5 heavyweight opponents really compare? Ali's legacy speaks for itself. He didn't just fight the best, he beat them. And he did it while carrying the weight of a cultural revolution. Guys like Larry Holmes, who took on Ernie Shavers and Ken Norton, or even Jack Johnson, who overcame impossible odds in his era, all have resumes that tell a bigger story than just wins and losses. It's about context. About impact. When Usyk faced Du Bois, some fans hoped for fireworks, but instead, what we saw was a breakdown of Du Bois's game. His footwork was clumsy, his head movement nearly non-existent, and his pressure didn't last. People started to ask, was Usyk that dominant, or was Du Bois just not ready? I'll be honest, I was rooting for Du Bois. Hometown fighter, lots of heart. But after round 2, the difference in class was obvious. Usyk just had him figured out. That jab, that rhythm, Du Bois didn't know how to deal with it. Usyk wasn't even in third gear, and he still had complete control. Teddy Atlas, one of the most respected voices in the sport, gave a scathing critique of Du Bois's approach. According to Atlas, Du Bois fought like it was any other night. No adjustments, no tactical plan. No consistent body work. Nothing to throw Usyk off. And when you fight someone like Usyk without a clear strategy, you're just walking into a chess match with a grandmaster. Atlas made another solid point. Du Bois threw a single meaningful body shot in the early rounds, and it seemed to have an effect. But then, nothing. He never followed up. It's like his corner had no contingency plan. And when you're getting outclassed, you have to make those in-fight adjustments. Otherwise, you're just target practice. That's the thing about fighters like Usyk. They don't just win. They expose the gaps in your game. If you're not prepared mentally and tactically, they'll make you look ordinary. It's not just about power or grit. It's about angles, movement, and thinking 3